I'm Eunice Johnson. Thank you for watching Energy Matters. It's another time on Energy Matters, and of course, it's always good to have you join us. Now, a green economy has become highly relevant over the last years. The world is currently experiencing pollution-related issues and environmental decay that had its origin, however, in the previous centuries. And so the development of an industrial economy inevitably entails the production of waste in such a quantity that the environment is incapable of assimilating and transforming it naturally. Therefore, it is believed that one of the main green economy sectors is waste retrieval and recycling, and that means waste management, which brings me to what we will be discussing today on Energy Matters. But then let's take a breather. You'll find out more about our focus on today if you stay tuned. I'm Eunice Johnson. I'm Eunice Johnson. Thank you for watching Energy Matters. The stakes are really high, and a whole lot of people have been talking about going green. And some people would want to wonder what that really means. But today on the discussion segment, we will throw a little bit of light on it, as well as the issue of waste management alternatives as long as going green is concerned. My guest is HAFIZ IBRAHIM, a waste management specialist. He will be educating us on this segment. You're very much welcome, as he will be joining us virtually, I must also mention. You're welcome, HAFIZ.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
How have you been?
Wow.
Okay, so straight to the discussion. Tell us about waste management in Nigeria.
As introduced, I'm HAFIZ Ahmed. I hold a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Bayero University, Kano. I also hold a master's degree in analytical chemistry from the University of Huddersfield in the UK, and a PhD in chemistry from the University of Huddersfield in the UK. Yes, it's a very good question that you've asked. So if we say waste management, before putting it into context, it includes the activities and actions that is required to manage waste from its inception to up to its final disposal. So in Nigeria, actually, when it comes to cities like Abuja and Lagos, the posh areas, let me use that word, you'll see that waste is properly collected. But then for disposal, to be honest with you, we do have just open landfills in Nigeria. Now, if we take Abuja as an example, if you go to places like Maitama, Asokoro, yeah, quite alright, you will not see waste. But when you go to Idu, where the waste is disposed, it's an open landfill. There is no control, no engineered facility that collects the leachate liquid that perforates down the waste, and it goes to our water bodies and farmlands and all sorts.
So what are the different types of waste? People talk about wastes in different forms. It takes different shapes. Sometimes we hear different types of waste, and you want to wonder if waste is not waste anytime, any day. So can you educate us on that?
Okay. Yes. This is a tricky one. So it's actually difficult to tell you the types of waste. If it depends on what we are looking at. For me, if I'm going to characterize, or categorize waste, I'm going to categorize waste into, biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. Someone might decide, to categorize it based on its state, saying maybe solid waste, liquid waste, and gaseous waste, and someone might decide to categorize it, based on it being, toxic and non-toxic as well. But I prefer to, categorize it based on, it being biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste.
Speaking of waste management, a lot of people say that there are different ways with which waste can be managed, and then the experts talk about integrated waste management. So for a layman who doesn't understand what the term means, what is integrated waste management?
Okay, so integrated waste management. So here we are looking at, a holistic approach, of managing waste, right? It's, covering from waste generation, how the waste is being generated, segregation, how we segregate, waste based on it being biodegradable and non-biodegradable, and then the transfer of it, from households, restaurants, industries, and other parts where waste is generated, for it to be transferred into dump sites or landfill that I call them, and then sorting, sorting the waste when it gets there, and then treatment and recovery. As well as disposal in an integrated manner, so yes, that is it.
Okay, following all those forms of waste management that you have rightly mentioned, what is the preferred form of waste management?
Well, this is a personal opinion for me, to be honest with you. The major problem in waste management is actually its disposal. How the waste is being disposed, which in Nigeria, putting it into context, it's really a major problem. It's really important that we manage waste. If not, it will come back to haunt us. We can see its effects, globally. We just of recent, like 2 days ago, I've seen in the news that the UK, they've reached a temperature of like almost 29 degrees, and it was also in the news that in Antarctica, the largest iceberg has dissolved, which is a major concern, for all of us. And I think that iceberg, it's like in terms of area, like 4,320 square kilometers, and this is something that we should worry about, if waste is not managed well, most especially its disposal, where when the waste is disposed, the biodegradable side of the waste is being fermented by bacteria, and the end product of that fermentation, is a methane and carbon dioxide, with little amount of sulfur dioxide and other things, but majority of that end product fermentation is those two greenhouse gases, and they lead to global warming. If they're not well trapped, then they'll just add up to the already climate change that we are facing. And also the leachate, the liquid that drains down, and go to water bodies, and if there are farmlands, very close by, they get affected by the chemicals, the heavy metals that are in that liquid, the leachate, and it will end up in our bodies, because this is what you consume, in the farmlands, what they plant and other things. So I think that for me, the major problem, of waste management, to be honest with you, is its disposal. So it's about time that in Nigeria we have a sanitary landfill, that so that we can have waste well managed, if you know what I mean.
In this climb, you see different places where waste is being disposed improperly, and you see landfills improperly managed. So what would you say is the major problem with waste management?
Yes, we will have to give that to Nigeria. We do have our rules and regulations, and in Nigeria, there exists plethora of legislations, covering entire range of laws, concerned legislations, management, and protection of the environment. The laws, they do touch, on pollution, on our water, soil, food, waste management, land use, and conversation, and so on. We can have it there. I think there was a paper that I read some couple of months ago that the author identified about 50 federal legislations relating to environmental issues. And we do have them, but the major problem is enforcement and compliance. How do we enforce those legislations and make sure that we the people do comply with those rules and regulations. So we do have, like I said earlier, we do have plethora of legislations covering waste management, and the rules and regulations as well. But how do we enforce it and make sure that we the people comply? So I think that is where the problem of Nigeria comes in. And of course, yes, we do have Federal Environmental Protection Agency, which was, I think, established in 1991. That was after that scenario of Italy, dumping, waste into Nigeria. We didn't have, any institution that has, the framework, both legal and administrative, for the enforcement and, execution of environmental policies and legislations. But since then, it has been established. It has different departments, that do look at environmental impact assessment, and on other things. But my major concern is enforcement, like I said earlier.
And now let's be very specific. Talking about Nigeria, what are the rules and regulations guiding waste management in Nigeria?
Oh, okay. Yes, well, e-waste shouldn't be alien, to people, because it's actually now it's considered as the fastest growing waste stream in the world. With I think in 2016 there was about 44.7, to be precise, million tons, generated in 2016. So e-waste, it's the new normal. It means discarded electrical and electronic devices. This 21st century, we can see how we use electrical and electronic devices. So after the use, it generates waste. The thing with e-waste is, like I said earlier, when you asked me about, categorizing waste, which I decided myself to categorize it under biodegradable and non-biodegradable. I told you that some might decide to categorize it, based on it being toxic and non-toxic. So e-waste, and majority of it falls under toxic waste, because it contains toxic elements in it, like lead, cadmium, beryllium, and other things. So that is e-waste in a nutshell.
And now moving on to another sector which is still on waste management. I'm talking about e-waste. You see a lot of things, virtually everything is going electronic these days. So we have also e-waste, and it might sound a bit alien to some people. Tell us more about it, including its management and handling, if possible.
And yes, managing it is it's more complicated, than managing biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable, non-toxic, waste. the e-waste being majority of it, not all though, being toxic, it should be managed in a highly engineered, facility that protects, those toxic elements, getting into our water bodies and our farmlands, and any access that it does have to us, because diseases such as cancer are brought into being. They do have a major role they play, those heavy metals in the occurrence of such diseases. So it's really complicated, and it's very important when waste management, as a whole, it's important to manage waste. But then when it comes to toxic waste, it's of high priority, to make sure that the health, of human beings are being, protected. And
Okay, so Hafiz, what are the most common methods of waste disposal in this climate? Which ones do we adopt more, or which is more suitable for this climate?
So yes, I've been mentioning, sanitary landfill, right from the start of, of this interview. But using sanitary landfill is not, the only way we can manage waste. Well, this is my, my personal view of things. To be honest, it's the safest. That is what I think. But there are other things, there are other methods that we do manage waste. We do have incineration, we do have pyrolysis, combustion as well, which is not advisable. Open combustion, because if we burn the waste openly, without proper management, the product of combustion, they do get in the atmosphere, which one of them is carbon dioxide, and it's a greenhouse gas. It adds to the climate change that we are already battling with. So for me, if you ask me personally, the best way to manage waste is through sanitary landfill. It does have its own disadvantages, because of the size of land it does require, and when it gets filled up, we'll have to move to another land, that is covered, but which can be converted to so many other things. Like, we can convert that to a park, like a green park where we go have fun, while beneath us is waste that is properly, managed and covered. And over years, we can have the advantage of collecting the leachate, treating it, and then using it, using the water, because it will be free from all toxic substances. And the gas that is produced, with the biodegradable waste being fermented, we can collect the gas, and we can use it for many purposes, like cooking, or we can use it to generate electricity. So apart from properly managing the waste, the end product of that fermentation is collected, and it can be used for positive, impact, on so many things, like I made mentioned earlier. We can use it for cooking gas, even though in Nigeria the cooking gas that we use is LPG, which is liquefied petroleum gas, a mixture of butane and propane. But methane can be used as cooking gas as well.
Okay, in all of these methods that are being adopted, what would you say are the best forms of waste disposal? For anybody watching now and wondering, I could dispose my waste here, I could throw it here, I could incinerate it, I could do this, I could do that. But then, these different forms of disposals pose some sort of threat, in one way or the other. So what would you say is the best form that is safe, that adopts the going green new policies that has to do with going green?
Well, I think I've already answered this question earlier on. So the best forms. So since you've said forms, so it should be more than one. Is sanitary landfill, and pyrolysis, because in those forms of waste management, everything is collected. There is no emission of these greenhouse gases, that do go into the atmosphere. So everything is well managed. So I will choose the two, sanitary landfill and yes, pyrolysis.
And speaking of reusable, recyclable waste, how does one determine which wastes are reusable? Because sometimes you see people people try to recycle some bottles which we hear are not too safe for consumption or for use in any form. So which wastes would you say are reusable, and how does one know, okay, I could reuse this waste, I could recycle this waste to something else that won't still pose threat or harm to the health or environment, if you may?
Well, it's not that difficult. Reusable waste, it's just, for example, like the clothes that we do wear. So when you are done using it and you decide to dispose it, you might change your decision and say, okay, I'm going to give someone else to use it, or I'll give it to charity. That is reusable waste. There is a difference between reusable waste and recyclable waste. So this is reusable waste, and recyclable waste is just maybe the sachet water, the sachet water that we do drink, or the bottled water that we do drink. So that sachet or that bottle that we've used, in drinking our water. So after that we dispose it, and there are so many recyclable companies that do use that waste to recycle it. Just more recently on LinkedIn, I saw one woman here in Nigeria that do use that sachet water to make interlock tiles. And there is another one that I've seen also on LinkedIn that use the sachet to make school bags, and other things from it. So that is recyclable waste and reusable waste.
And now moving on to our major focus, which is of course going green. What are the examples of green wastes?
Yes, so green waste, it falls under that category, of biodegradable waste. So in other words, it is biological waste. It's organic waste that can be fermented. It can be it's biodegradable. And we can compost it, so that at the end of the day, one good thing about green waste, it's after its decomposition, the liquid that we have, it's rich in fertilizer, so it can be composted and we can use it on our gardens, our farmlands and other things.
Yes, anybody that hears green waste might be thinking, is it wastes that take the color of the shape of a green color or something? I've encountered one or two people at different on different occasions where the term green waste is quite new to them. So can you educate us on that?
Yes, this question as well, I think in the course of our discussion, I've already, answered it. So waste to wealth, or trash to cash, waste to energy. I think I've made mention of people turning sachet in sachet water into blocks, and the sachet in sachet water as well, used in making school bags and other things. And myself, where I work with Genesis Energy, I lead the team on waste to energy. So what we are concerned with is turning that waste into gas, which we can use to power the homes and businesses as well. So this is the new thing coming into Nigeria. We've seen countries like Germany, Sweden, and the US as well. They're already into that. There are things that are powered, homes and a train. There is a train that is powered, with the gas that is generated from waste. We can see NASA as well. They do have a facility that is powered by that gas that is generated from their waste as well. So it's not a new thing. It's something that has been out there for quite a long time, to be honest with you, but we are yet to start practicing that in Nigeria. So Genesis is bringing it to our tables. This is something that we do have already, things in plan that we will maybe partner with the government to build sanitary landfills that will properly manage waste, and at the end of the day the byproducts can be used positively to add up to maybe the national grid, the gas that we will collect, and the treated water can be used because it will be safe to use. And on the green waste side, this is something that we can properly manage as well. And the end product of that fermentation is it's a source of fertilizer, which is very rich in nitrogen and other nutrients. And the gas as well can be used for, as I mentioned earlier, to generate electricity or as a cooking gas. So it depends on the perspective you look at it, but if you look at it from this perspective, waste it will no more be trash. It's something that when you look at it, you'll see money, you see cash, you see wealth. So yes, that is it. We are here to change the narrative on waste.
Thank you very much for joining us once again. We do hope to have you some other time. All right, that's about it on the discussion segment. Let's just take a breather. When we return, the program will be rounding off. Reducing waste at different levels, including that of household consumption, is critical as the environmental impact increases at each of the next stages of life's cycle. Of the environmental problems, food waste is an estimated serious global problem. I mean, who doesn't eat food? So it's up to you and I to adopt the most suitable and less life-threatening forms of waste disposal. Remember, the world is going green. Do not be left out. That's it on Energy Matters today. See you next time. Cheers. I'm Eunice Johnson. I'm Eunice Johnson. Thank you for watching Energy Matters.